Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Deep Answer. We're going deeper so you can go higher. My name is Uyo Omani, and I have here, as usual, Mr. Akin Aregbesola. And today, we'll be going deeper on the subject, the place of thoughts in the practice of principles. Mr. Aregbesola, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
All right, so in our previous episode, we've talked, or you have mentioned severally, how important our thoughts are. You know, how the things that we think actually go a long way to creating an effect or the other in our lives. So seeing the importance of our thoughts, would you mind expatiating on that just so we know what we're dealing with?
All right. Yes. So yeah, thought is so important. So between the two worlds of material and spiritual, we said that the mind is the gateway through which the material can go into the universe and link with the spiritual. All right. So the mind is the gateway. Without a mind or without a sound mind, then you cannot connect with the spiritual. Therefore, when you do have a mind, what is the signal? What is the, because like we said, the mind is just the gateway. It's more like the apparatus that allows the door through which you can send and receive signals. So what is the signal? What is the current? What is the thing that is flowing through which you are communicating with the universe and ultimately with the spiritual, and through which the spiritual also can communicate with you using your mind? Remember, we talked about the mind being in two parts: the part that is close to you, through which you communicate in the physical, is the conscious mind, and the other part that is close to the universe, through which the universe communicates with you, is the subconscious mind, even though together they are called the mind. But something has to flow. I mean, what is that signal? Like you lay a cable in electricity and then current flows through the cable. And then you lay a pipe in transmitting water or fluid. Haven't laid the pipe, something has to flow through it. In that case, the water, the fluid, the petroleum. So in this case, what flows through that connection that is established by the gateway? It is your thoughts. So thought becomes the link, the closest link for connection between the material and the spiritual. So I had to go through all of that so that you see the importance of thoughts. So with thought in mind now, all of the abstract about spiritual, the seen, the unseen, they become more realistic now, because we see that by thoughts, we can send signal. In other words, we can communicate with the world outside of us, and by thought, the world outside of us can communicate with us. So without thoughts, nothing is possible. So thought is that important, very, very important, and brings to context, brings to something you can relate with all the things that we talk about spirit, about, that appear abstract when you talk about universe. Thought is that fundamental, yes.
Is it possible that we have a control over our thoughts, even though we do not have control over our minds?
Yes. By having control over our thoughts, we ultimately have control over our minds. So yes, we as Napoleon Hill puts it, we do not only have the power to think, 1,000 times more important is that we have the power to control our thoughts, and by that, create whatever we want. So when we say, as a man thinketh, so is he. Or we say, whatever you can imagine, that you can get. It's all about thought. Because it is your thought that the world around you, or your environment, your fruits, your external, the outer, is formed around. So what I mean by that is, what you attract, the shape of the environment around you is determined by your thought, by what you are thinking. So this is why there might be two people. One, they both live in the same environment, under the same government, went to the same, had access to the same kind of education. Everything you can relate with between these two people, exactly the same thing. Maybe even born of the same parents.
Okay.
Yet they attract different situations in life. Maybe for one person, the life is, the world is a hell of a place. For one person, the belief is that he swears and does all the work and he never gets gratification for all of his efforts. Therefore, these things about principle, about what you give is what you get, it does not apply to him, because the contrary is what he experiences. But for the other person, it could be that all of these things make sense, and the practice of principle actually bring to him even more than he had imagined. So what can you ascribe the difference to? Because everything else you can see is the same. So why are they attracting different external situations? In other words, bearing different fruits.
Okay.
The difference is in thoughts. The difference is in thoughts. So yes, we do have the power to control our minds, and it is, yes, by our thoughts, and then it is by these thoughts that what we see around us form. So if our thought is star-shaped, for example, our external world will be formed into star. Just to use something you can relate with. If our thought is square-shaped, for example, our external world will be shaped squarely. If it's rectangle, so whatever it is that we think, that is what the external world around us. In other words, it is the inner that the outer takes after. This is the meaning of, as a man thinketh, so is he. So it is by thoughts that one may say, you know what, I'm done with humans. I don't want to sin anymore. I don't want to commit any of those, to break any of the commandments. I'm going to live all by myself in a cave where I will not relate with human beings. I'll just be by myself and therefore not sin, not commit trespasses. Because there's nobody to hate, there's nobody to deprive, there's nobody to, break any of those commandments. Yet, it could turn out that that person is even more sinner than the person who actually lives amongst people and commit these sins in action because of thoughts. So it is not the doing. It's already captured, even in thought. I'm just saying all of this to emphasize the importance of thought. So you could be dumb and not say anything to anybody for a whole year and not even act Yet, the circumstances around you could depict that the seed from which this fruit is coming is evil, is bad, because of the attraction of evil fruits like sickness, like poverty, like worry, like, all of the negative vices and that we are trying to run away from. All right.
Okay.
So thought is fundamental. So fundamental that once you think it, even without taking action on it, it is already done. It's already done. Yes.
Now
We have control of our minds, and by this training, by these teachings, we can learn to take proper control and utilize our thoughts in such a way that it will form around us what we truly desire.